Alright, tonight's shave with the Nacet. I've grouped the dots in 5s, and so that shows a 20 count for this blade. Tonight will be its 21st use. By far the longest blade I've ever used. Just recently finally finished a big sampler of blades, and so I'm no longer trying to try the next one anymore. The brush we'll use is this Boar from Whipped Dog. It's a 24mm knot. I'm really liking it. I'm going to go ahead and start it soaking, since I'd like to have it soaking for a few minutes before I use it. This is what I like to do to it before the shave. Soak it in a little cup. Not everybody likes to do that. That is optional. I have had the soap Williams mug soaking in warm water for 13 minutes now, because I found online a video as I was researching, because I have done a bowl lather with Williams mug that I'm really happy with. I've experimented with different times and things. I'm really happy with it. Great creamy lather. But I haven't been getting any good results over the maybe 4 times I've done face lathering with it just right from the mug. And so I was doing some research on YouTube, and I came across a comment of a guy, since like 1960, he's been using, John L. was his commenter name on a, I think, Shaving with Rich video, and it was called Ultimate Scoop. On Williams mug soap, 4 different ways to do it, something like that. And the guy's name was John L., and he said he's been using it for a very long time, and he keeps coming back to it, not because of the price, but because it's just really slick and it performs well for him. And I can certainly see how that is true. So we're going to follow his recipe and see how it goes. To do that, we are going to need a razor, and this has the Nacet in it already. This is the Blackland dart. And this is the matte version, which is a nickname for the machined version. There's a few marks, machine marks, that you'll still see on it. And that's to save the customer money, where they don't have to keep polishing and working on it. You don't have to pay that labor cost. So you get a great razor for less money. Also, you may like the fit and finish of kind of a more casual, maybe a little bit more character. I think I might be in that camp too. So, John's instructions, I've got them written down. Here's my chicken scratch, written without too much support for my wrist, so it looks kind of messy. But soak in hot water or warm for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then take your brush, get it really soaking wet. He used a Badger, but I'm using a Boar, so hopefully, and this is a young Boar too, it's only about 21 uses. So we'll shake a couple of shakes to get it out, but the point is it's going into the load with a good bit of water, and load heavily out of the mug, and then move over to a separate bowl. And so I'm glad I have my lather bowl on hand, and then just load and work it until it turns into what you want. So let's just see. Let's just see if that works for me, because I'm in a good place. I'm going to pause from the mug lathering, the face lathering, for just a bit. Okay, at the end of the shave, we will put on some Afta fresh, and that's been working well for me so far. So now the brush has been soaked long enough. Now, another thing here, so technically 15 minutes we have soaked this soap. I'm going to pour out the bloom water. That is wasting a little bit of soap material, but no big deal. Cheap. And now I'm going to take the brush out. It is still dripping water. And he said give it about 3 light shakes. And there we go. And then we'll just load heavily what he said. Now, I have bloomed this one, and that is the technique. When I say bloom, I mean soaked. I have soaked this puck to get the good lathers that I have made with this. And so that part is not new. Have not soaked it in warm or hot water yet, and this water did start out pretty hot. And I would just come and pour the water on the soap, cold water, and then just let it be, and it would end up to be like a 25-minute soak. Now, I don't know if the hot water will make any difference. If it will, like maybe 5 minutes of soaking in hot is the same as, 15 minutes soaking in cold. I don't know. I am getting some of the big wetness kind of overflowing out of the cup, but I know from experience that a lot of times that is not what you want to shave with. So I'm just letting it go down in. Maybe 4 splotches of that have gone down already. And I'm just loading heavily. I didn't really time this. If this turns out to be somewhat close to being pretty awesome, then I'll go back and time it. Of course, no good news is we're recording it, so you'll be able to time me. So look at the front of the mug. Pretty funny. All right. There we go. Already, this is a pretty good looking lather compared to a lot of the face lathers and stuff. There's some bubbles in there still, but I've even got a little bit of a sheen. And now that, I don't think that's happened yet. So I was saying it's possible there may be an equivalent, like hot water equals a certain amount of time of cold water, and cold water is just a longer time. Or maybe hot water is different and it releases something about this particular soap. So we'll see. So now I'm going in. Let me tilt you down a little bit more. Easier for you to see, and then I don't have to hold the bowl up as high. So the reason I decided to try this method that I read about was because I had seen that most of the problems with Williams were due to that light, airy lather. And I was trying to find ways around that where I didn't have to deal with that. Oh, this looks terrific. And so I thought, since that light, airy stuff comes up when you use a lot of water, I thought, hey, let's start slowly. Load water slowly, that sort of thing. And this was kind of the opposite. I was getting all the water out of my brush. And this method said start with a pretty wet brush, pretty soaked, saturated brush with just a little bit of water shaken out of it. It's looking pretty good. And so I thought, hey, let's try it. I mean, if this guy has done it longer than me, then that is some wisdom I might want to tap into. Now, maybe he's got soft water and I've got hard water, but, since I've gotten Williams to do well in other ways, I kind of feel like it should work. I mean, sure, this is a bowl lather, and I've already got a good recipe for a bowl lather, but this is a pretty convenient bowl lather. I mean, no gradual adding of water, nothing like that. Just saturate your brush, with water, shake a little bit out, long load with the soap. Oh, a little bit of elasticity there. Do you see that? Not a lot much anywhere else though. All right. Why don't we just stop, and I've got a good bit of lather here. Let's just see what happens. It does seem like it might be a little on the light side. Who knows, maybe I need to add some water to it, but that's something I could do on my face. Maybe I shook off a little bit too much from the brush. Give this brush doesn't hold as much water as his Badger that he used. So there's a bunch of variables coming into play, but this might give us a baseline. I'm going to rinse my face. All right, here we go. Lather does not look all that dense, but one thing that we can maybe see is if there is still kind of some untapped soap in the brush that it was waiting for more water to come along. I've had that happen with Williams before. So I watched a little bit of that Shaving with Rich video, and one of the things he does, and he tries some different ways of lathering up Williams. But one thing he didn't seem to try was giving it a little bit of time on your face. Because this one started out pretty airy. But I got a feeling I'm going to need to add some water to this. Yeah, look at the lather right there on my, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a lot more rich. So let's the furrows there are a little bit more lumpy than I like. So let's just add a little bit of water. I'll start with two teaspoons, and I'll put it on the brush. A little bit on the brush. Put a little bit too much on there. See if we can get that added in. Oh yeah, look at this right here. See this right next to my goatee? That's some good looking lather. It's rich and thick. Okay, let's do some painting. Check out the texture here. Oh yeah, see, that's a lot smoother. I ended up adding about half a teaspoon of water. Let's just see what happens. Looks nice. That's true, and I maybe shook off a little too much water from the brush there. For that particular brush, it's possible that a larger badger with a bigger bloom, with a bigger splay. You know, that 3 shakes that I did would have been just right. It's obviously a relative measure depending on your brush. All right, Nacet. 21 uses. That's good. Feeling the blade, but it's consistent. It's not dragging. About 24 hours worth of growth. That's what we're dealing with here. And the last couple of shaves were, you know, face lathers where it was just kind of really thin. So I wouldn't be surprised if my skin was maybe a little bit roughed up. Of course, the blade could be getting rough. Just see how it feels later on in the shave. It does, and this is a little bit, this is not a smooth first pass. I'm gonna rinse. All right, left some droplets on my face there to help out the next pass. Let's see what happens. Brush feels great. You know, no prickly points, anything like that. Just the right amount of, for me at least, if I want to keep it on the tips, you know, and not splay it very much in this type of motion. It's not pushing my skin around uncomfortably like a lot of synthetics do. And look, that one, it had soap still ready to build inside the brush. That's a good lather. Man, this guy stumbled across a really nice, convenient way to do Williams. Very cool. John L. Thanks, man. I'm glad I stumbled across your info. I mean, I knew it. Now, it is true that past versions of Williams, at some point, there was a year where they switched the formulation, reduced the tallow or some type of ingredient, and the lathers weren't as rich as they once were. And I have an old puck of Williams, and I have experienced that. And it's very nice. But surely the new Williams can still work really well. It's too bad it gets such a bad rap, and that's kind of why I chose it for Austere August. If you haven't heard about that, it's where some of us online gathered together and decided, hey, let's be basic about what we use. Maybe we'll use the same gear, maybe just the same soap, maybe the same soap and razor. Some of us have gone extreme and even uses the same blade for every day of August. In my case, I wanted to be better with Williams, and I definitely am. I definitely have improved. Now this is a comfortable pass. This is very nice. Very comfortable. I mean, sure, I still felt the blade, but it was predictable and non-irritative, if irritative is a word. I'm going to rinse. All right. Let us, left a few droplets like before on my face. Let's just see what we get for the third pass. I haven't really dug out. A lot of the lather that's still in the bowl here is airy. And so much of the soap that has been used in this has actually come up from just inside the brush. I added a few droplets of water to the brush, and sure enough, look what came out. Creamy, rich lather. Very nice. Start down here at the bottom, because that's what seems to give me the best results with those troublesome hairs next to my Adam's apple right there. Got some kind of, I don't know, bug bite. I don't know. Mowed the yard yesterday and it seemed to surface then, so I don't know. Light touch. If you haven't seen any of my other dark videos, here's a little piece of info. First pass, I have kind of a normal handle angle, something like this, but that was too aggressive for my second and future passes. I learned that if I brought my handle in a little bit, had a lower handle angle, which actually gave a more steep blade angle, since it's kind of a inverse relationship. This feels terrific. This is a minimal blade feel. Just nice controlled cutting, very nice. So anyway, I brought the handle in and all of a sudden it went from being really rough, razor that I would have to return because it just was too rough for my skin. Brought that handle, instead of being here, something more like this. It made it into something very manageable and enjoyable, and something, since it's right at the edge kind of my tolerance level, has given me some of the best shaves. It really has. All right, so that's 3. I'm gonna rinse. And since it's not the 7th use or before, I don't quite have the ability to stop at 3 passes, it would seem. So I'm going to do a neck only pass in this region, in my trouble spot right here. Plenty of lather to do what I need. This is when I need an extra light touch. And that's why I hold the razor like I do. Fingers pretty close in proximity, not spanned all the way across the handle, but in a small area of the handle, so that if I hit any bumps, the razor moves, instead of me pressing through my skin, making my skin move, and then having too much pressure, perhaps causing irritation. There we go. Kept kind of a slant move, like here's my up and down hair growth. Here's my angle of movement is like this, but I tilt my razor and then still keep that same track so that it's more of a slicing action with a little bit of a diagonal to it. And that can really help to get certain hairs that have problems, especially if you're like me and you can't go against the grain in your neck area. All right, I'm gonna rinse it. Well, it must be that for the last maybe 5 shaves or so, guessing, that the Nacet has downgraded in use a little bit. I mean, after all, 21 uses, you know, it's just not getting the neck hairs right here like it did in the early days of its use. I'm talking about the blade, of course. Now for me, I work from home right now, and so it's not a big deal. If you worked in an office, it actually might not be a big deal, depending on what kind of interaction you have with your coworkers or bosses or that kind of thing. Somebody 5 feet away may not even notice. And also, you may not have a trouble spot like I do right here. Everywhere else I've got, like right now, that Nacet, 95% baby butt smooth on my cheeks without going against the grain. So you may not have the kind of trouble area that I do. Over here, gets shaved really well, no problem at all. Just right here, it gets a little swirly and just it's just hard to get. So, I mean, there may be some other techniques. I've tried a whole lot of them, but this is the same way I shaved all the while, and I had a nice, slick, creamy lather, slick and creamy, both at the same time. Williams has always given me a slick lather. It's just a lot of times I'm not able to get it to a creamy state with certain bits of my experiments. Anyway, so that worked really well. That'll be interesting. That might be this may be a good platform to launch some, you know, experiments, more quantifiable, because after all, I didn't really go back into my bowl very much. As you can see how airy that lather is. That's almost a throwaway lather. Just whatever we were able to load inside the brush that's the key stuff. That's the richness and the creaminess and the stuff with some cushion. So let's, one thing I might want to do here, I'm going to do a little bit of a palm lather just to see if there's any soap left in this guy. I'll show you in a minute. And sure enough, there was not this much lather on the outside of that brush. And so I was able to generate it. It was inside. And then look at the texture of that. It's got cushion, really nice slickness. And now let me I just got my hand wet and used that just residual wetness to crank up all this. I could shave with that easy, another pass. Let me do a squeeze and look. Okay, so we pretty much squeezed everything out. And look at that. That is good stuff. Easy. I mean, look at the card. Easy. Just soak it 5 to 10 minutes. I soaked it for 15. Warm or hot water. You know, just shake the brush a little bit. Load it heavy. Lather in the bowl. And that is some good shaving cream. Some good lather. Very nice. I say luxurious. That's terrific. All right. One thing I did do this shave, I washed my face with a little bit of soap beforehand because I didn't know what I'd face. I don't usually do that, but to tell you the truth, with the how it was really kind of a little bit airy on the first pass, that's kind of what I had experienced before, so I don't think it changed it too much. And there we go. Wow, how about that? I am impressed. Let's go ahead and put on the post-shave stuff. Trying this out. Never used it before this month. See what kind of stinging I get. It does have a little bit of alcohol. A little bit of stinging over this way. There we go. Any irritation now? Just a tiny bit, 0.5 out of 10 over here. It's kind of standard for me, to be honest with you. It's been remarkable that I haven't had any irritation for much of this month. But I'm a happy camper. So now that I know that it's unlikely that the Nacet is going to be able to cut this area, I may reduce the number of touch-up attempts I make, and just maybe do the 3 passes and leave it at that. And I may find that my irritation goes back to where it was. We'll see. We'll see. So 21 uses. I don't know if I'll be able to go to 100 like some people have. We'll see. We'll see. But it's not pulling. I don't believe it's irritating my skin. You know, when it's pulling, that usually means it's time. Usually means it's time to pitch it. But it's not. It just seems to be not cutting quite as efficiently. Obviously, if you've got a high-end job that requires really good presentation skills in this area, then you probably should pitch the blade by now. If you're also unable to go against the grain, I'll bet if you could go against the grain right now, you'd get a lot better results than me. So in a sense, my standards are really high with the setup that I have. I need the blade to be really playing at its best in a medium aggressive razor with a nice slick soak to be able to get the best results, since I can't go against the grain. I'm going to start cleaning up. So I just finished washing off the side, the front side of my Old Spice mug here that has the Williams in it. And you know, one thing, you might think it's a big waste of soap to let all that thin stuff just flow over and go down the sink, but really, if it's that thin, it probably doesn't have too much of a soap concentration, so it's not really a big deal. And if you can get it for $1.50 a puck, that also means that that little bit of soap is just not really worth all that much. So here's the brush, and what are we? This is the 19th So, yeah, we're almost to the 2/3 mark through the month. Be interesting. I bet there's I'm using Williams all month. There's probably a phase in the beginning, a few days where the soap is kind of new to you. You're enjoying the challenge of learning about it. I don't know how long that's going to last. Maybe different for different people. Maybe it's 8 days. Then maybe you switch into maybe a little bit of drudgery, like what did I get myself into? This sucks, that kind of thing. I'm guessing that may last until maybe right after the midpoint. So, you know, with August the 16th or something like that, you know, that might be the time and where now you're over the hump. You realize that you've got fewer shaves left to go than you started with. And I wonder if you start to kind of enjoy it a little bit more. A little bit of psychology we have going here. And then finally, I bet maybe the last week, the last 5 days, maybe we'll start feeling the end. Maybe have feelings about, you know, I'm going to miss this soap now that I'm going to go back and use my other ones. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So, all right. Well, this is how much it's bloomed so far. It'll be interesting to take some of the video and pictures and just see if it has grown up a lot. So I'm really enjoying that knot. I really am. All right. All right. Well, everything's cleaned up, ready to go. Face feels good. Doesn't feel dry or anything like that. John L., thanks for your formula. Thanks for your procedures. That really worked out. I'll be able to go back and watch the video and find out how much I actually loaded for. So that'll be a cool metric for to move toward from. If that was a minute, then I'll know something to try. So very cool. Really happy with that. And now it's just a great lather. You saw it at the end. So you see, I think what happened with you know, shaving with Rich, he just didn't get to that point. That first little bit that he used, that's not the stuff. Anyway, that's enough for now. It's late. Time to go to bed. I'm Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope there was something here for you. Take care. Good night.